Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the second episode of the series, A Beginner's Guide to Wine Science. Today we are focusing on wine defects, to know how they smell like, what they are, how they are formed, so that you have the right vocabulary to describe why you think something is wrong in your glass. By the way, please don't feel intimidated by all the scientific terms I might mention. The goal is not to memorize all of them in one go, but to expose you to them so that when you're watching your favorite sommelier or wine master's YouTube videos or even contents from the professors in wine industry, and or just reading a blog post or a paper, you can have a bit more clues. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Liv. I'm a master's student of Vineyard and Winery Management at Bordeaux. I create this series to expose you to a little bit of wine science, wine chemistry, and sensory science, help you expand your wine knowledge for free, enjoy your next vineyard visits, and maybe be a little bit more accurate or playful even at communicating wine. Ever wonder why whenever you order a bottle in the restaurant, the sommelier will come and show you the label and ask who is going to taste first? It is not to ask for your opinion for this wine, but to see and taste if this bottle is alright. The problem is, can you even tell something is wrong? The smell of wine defects are like this. But how can you remember all of them so when in doubt you can ask the right questions to the winemaker or the sommelier? I'm going to show you something a little bit more systematic so that can help you group the vocabularies together and remember how they're formed so that it's easier to remember the names, perhaps also ask the engaging questions to the winemaker. So most of the wine defects nowadays are actually controlled. The wine we are having now are usually already filtered, following quality controls and meeting legal maximum for certain chemical compounds. And the scientists nowadays are studying wine defects to know how to precisely control or avoid them. For consumers like you and me, there are three categories of wine defects to remember: wine faults, white tints, and unwanted flavors. These three categories occur due to different reasons. Wine fault results from winemaking errors or issues during the production process. I'll explain a little bit more about the production process in the future episodes, so don't forget to subscribe and get notified. Wine tints, on the other hand, are due to external contaminants. If you have wines at home and that you don't preserve them in the right environment, this could be your problems as well. Unwanted flavors are simply just not enjoyable or not desirable in certain contexts. I quite like this category because it leaves them flexible for being different because we're all different anyway. Wine faults. During the winemaking process, the winemaking errors can cause microbial spoilage or oxidation, which can change or have a huge impact on the wine quality or intended wine profile. There are four types of wine faults: oxidation, reductive, addictive, or Brettanomyces. I think you're not gonna die from having a sip of it. Wine fault can really change everything, and you will understand why. Oxidation or the premature oxidation, the premox or POX. I think oxidation is not new to anyone because we know oxygen changes many things. Exposing wine to oxygen can change its color, aroma, and taste. During winemaking or specifically aging process, the temperature, the size of the container, and the presence of oxygen are the factor to the oxidation speed and intensity. There are ways to control it, so when you visit a vineyard or a winery, you can ask the winemaker how they do their SO2 management or refrigeration, or do they use any gas to protect their must and wine, such as nitrogen, argon gas, or carbon dioxide, like dry ice. For example, white wine are very fragile compared to red wine because red wine have some phenolic compounds that naturally works as an antioxidant. The typical sensory characters of oxidation type of faults are nail polish remover, sherry, bruised apple, and vinegar. So, vinegar. We all know how vinegar smells like, but you cannot skip a word called volatile acidity when we talk about vinegar. Or just wine in general, because volatile acidity is actually the key measurement for wine quality in the wine industry. Many countries actually have legal maximum for VA. I will not list out all the acids because we are not in a wine chemistry deep dive. But I will just mention acetic acids because more than 93% of the VA is acetic acids. Many countries have legal maximum for VA or volatile acidity, such as France, Germany, USA, Australia, and more. Each of them has their own legal limits or regulations. In general, European Union also have limits for volatile acidity. The cause of VA is usually coming from the yeast, as yeast will release some acetic acids during the alcoholic fermentation. Bacteria spoilage in the presence of oxygen is usually where the bacteria converts alcohol to acetic acid. And the Brettanomyces will elevate VA when growing under aerobic conditions. The overbruised apple or stock ferment or the sherry-like aromas. There is oxidized ethanol to acetaldehyde under oxidative condition. Anyway, just remember yeast, ethanol, acetaldehyde, and if ever in the wine tasting you smell something like bruised apple, you don't need to remember acetaldehyde. But is acetaldehyde equal bruised apple, sherry-like?
Sherry lady, going through emotion.
And nail polish remover. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever likes to go to the nail salon every 3 weeks, I guarantee you will recognize this very easily in the wine defects. In my training in the first semester, nail polish remover ethyl acetate is actually one of the only 2 defects I can really call out the name. The other one is vinegar because I really like balsamic. And guess who caused this problem? Your friend yeast again. So ethyl acetate is actually an ester created by yeast. Don't panic about the new word ester. We will come back to this word when we talk about secondary aromas. Just remember it's ester produced by yeast and that smells like nail polish is fine. And by hearing me saying ester so many times, I guess you will remember a little bit this word. And the side note for ester. So at a low concentration, ester can actually bring complexity to the wine, such as fruity aroma. But at high concentration, just like the gossip in the nail salon, can be too much to endure. Reductive type of fault. So reductive is the neighbor of oxidation. It's actually caused by a variety of volatile sulfur compounds, VSC, not referring to Victoria's Secret campaign, but volatile sulfur compound. VSC occurs during winemaking and pre-packaging process. Rotten egg, the hydrogen sulfide, the H2S. So here, yeast is behaving like one of those friends come to your cellar, drink up of your happiness, and then puke in your living room. During the alcoholic fermentation, yeast break down the amino acids to use their nitrogen and then leave the hydrogen sulfur in the fermenting juice. That's how you get the rotten eggs in your wine. The rest of this category, as we are not in wine chemistry or microbiology class or deep dive, maybe one day I will consider to make something more technical if I have enough audience. So I'm not gonna list all the acids here, but basically they smells like this garlicky, onion, burnt rubbers, or cooked cabbage, which represents the DDS, DMDS, DMS, the dimethyl disulfide, and dimethyl sulfide, DMS. A sign up for DMS in different grape variety and under different viticultural practices, depending on the concentration, it actually brings some truffle-like aroma. Is it a defect? I'll leave that to you. Addictive type of fault. We will have only 2 aromas here. The first one is the sulfur dioxide, which has a very sharp, penetrating aroma. Sulfur dioxide is an entire class itself. I just have an exam about it. Not gonna lie, it's not easy. And we are not gonna dive into the rabbit hole of SO2 here, but basically they are used during the winemaking process to prevent oxidation and microbiological activities. And just like volatile acidity, many countries has legal limits on sulfur dioxide. Anyways, sulfur dioxide is a very penetrating, sharp smell. It's pretty easy to recognize them. And the second one, butterscotch. By diacetyl. It doesn't matter how much you like butterscotch, excessive diacetyl in the wine is categorized as wine fault. It can be created by yeast and bacteria. Just remember that during the malolactic fermentation, if the process is not managed well, meaning the catabolism of citric acid gone wild, you don't need to remember this detail if you are not a chemistry freak. Some acid just gone crazy and then you will have this butterscotch smell in your wine. And Brettanomyces. How can you talk about wine fault without mentioning them? Brettanomyces is actually like a party pooper that you can actually spot them even if they try to sneak into your party. When people say, oh, it smells a bit bready or bread, it usually refers to some very, very unpleasant aromas such as medicinal, pharmaceutical, cloves, spice, horsey, barnyard. All these smells I just mentioned are actually caused by 3 different compounds, 4-EP, 4-EG, and 4-EC. 4-ethylphenol, 4-ethylguaiacol, and 4-ethyl whatever that is. The 4-ethyl catechol. The medicinal pharmaceutical smell is actually created by the 4-ethylphenols, 4-EP. It's a major spoilage compound of Brettanomyces. It has a very low sensory threshold, which is 425 nanogram per liter. It is again created by yeast, but this time it's the Brettanomyces yeast, creating problems in your wine. Cloves, spicy or smoky smells. It's actually from the 4-EG, 4-ethylguaiacol. Me personally really likes the smell of cloves in a citrus olive chicken dish. It's this little thing that you want to have the aroma in your dish, but you definitely don't want to accidentally bite on it, because for Lord's mercy, it's kind of disgusting. If you find cloves in the smell of cloves in your wine, please just return the bottle. The horsey barnyard smell from 4-EC, the 4-ethyl catechol. Most of the Brettanomyces folds are actually quite a bummer in the wine. This last one is actually one of those when you smelled it once and it traumatized you, you will never be able to forget it, and that you will be very easy for you to recognize them next time. So enough wine folds, let's move to the tents. And I promise from here onwards it will be a lot more easier. Here's a table to recap what we just learned. You can pause and screenshot it. Wine taints are caused by external contaminants. They are the compounds that's not produced by wine itself, but it's introduced through some resources such as cork, insects, and oak. So in the wine tent session, we are going to look into the cork tents, smoke tents, and oak tents, and the earthy tents. There are two major cork tents that we hear very often. One is TCA, another is TBA. TCA is this moldy, wet cardboard, moldy basement smell. There's some way to recognize if there's TCA before even you taste or smell the wine. Whenever you remove the foil on top of the cork at the tip of the bottle, the surface of the cork, if there's mold already, it's very likely that the TCA is already getting through into the wine, because TCA is actually caused by the mold growing on top and going through the cork in contact with trichlorophenol and produce TCA. And just when you think that if you don't use natural cork, you will not have TCA problem, here comes the TBA. TBA can be formed in the environment by microbiome breaking down TBP. TBP is commonly found in fire retardant or fungicides and wastewater. TBA, it can be found in barrels, natural corks, as well as synthetic closure. Your affordable rosé might also have this problem. The earthy type of tents, which is the earthy, muddy aroma created by geosmin. This is one of my favorite tents. Can you really like a tent? During the sensory class, a professor asked us to describe how geosmin smells like. Most of my European or North American classmates would say beetroots. Guess what? I found an Asian equivalent, which is baby corn. If you ever have a hot pot or izakaya, Japanese style barbecue, you know what baby corn is, and that's exactly how geosmin smells like to me. But if you never had baby corn ever in your life and you wonder what it smells like beetroots. And beetroot smells like geosmin. And you don't want geosmin in your wine. It's caused by the metabolites in soil bacteria, which you can also find their biosynthesis in a cork. Smoke tents. I think this is kind of a sad one because it caused by many reasons, all related to smoke, and some vineyards in Napa Valley or places that has controlled burn or wildfire, where the vineyards and the grapes exposed to the smoke, and that the smoke travels through the stomata, the waxy part of the cuticle on the leaves, and then into the grapevine to the grapes. Wildfire not only destroy our nature, the smokes hurts the health of humans, plants, and wild animals. It affects our wines as well. They will have the following aromas such as smoky, tart, maybe plastic, burnt ashy smell. Last but not least, the oak tents. So we all know that wines are either fermented in wood vessel or aged in oak barrels when necessary. But how do we form those barrels? We toast them. So according to the toast intensity, because oak barrels and tanks during the making process requires heat to shape their form and style, the intensity of the heat, which is the temperature, and form various volatile phenols compounds. During the winemaking process, specifically aging, these compounds can be extracted from oaks, causing the tart, smoky, or even the medicinal smell in wines. Unwanted flavor refers to the characteristics that are not necessarily tense or full, but maybe are not desirable in certain contexts. This might be due to the specific winemaking choices or grape varieties. They might not render a wine undrinkable, but maybe they are just not appealing to some consumer. There are 3 types of unwanted flavors: high levels of oak flavor, excessive fruitiness, and certain variety characteristics. As we will learn more about aging in the tertiary aroma episode, you can just remember now, oak will create this vanilla and coconut smells in the wine, but excessive vanilla or the excessive oak flavors that will create tarts or smoky, ashy smell in the wine are just not desirable. Excessive fruitiness, this is the same idea. For example, a little bit of a banana note in the Beaujolais Nouveau can be adorable, or maybe just tropical fruits in the wine that can bring some complexity. But when the wine smells or even tastes just like black cherry or strawberry, wouldn't you want to just drink strawberry juice instead? Certain varietal characteristics. We will talk more about the piercing in the primary aroma episodes, but strong piercing in some Sauvignon Blanc can be very undesirable for some consumer, and I'm one of them. Me personally, I will not mention the wine property, but there's this bottle of Sauvignon Blanc that they're so recognizable for me because I really do not like them. If you can remember the beauty of a wine that's so tasty and so aromatic that you remember forever, you can definitely do the same for the wine that you find disastrous. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Editing Liv speaking. I realize that people might be expecting me to explain the green pepper aroma in methylpyrazine or black pepper in Rotterdam here, but I prefer to leave it to the future episodes when I'm speaking about primary aromas, or perhaps other episodes when I'm introducing different grape varieties. Thank you for your attention. I think it's the beauty of this category because it leaves some buffer for cultural and personal experience differences. Don't forget we all grow up in different culture or even different family when you're coming from a similar cultural background. We all have different memories to certain type of smell and taste. For example, in Asia, the star anise or licorice smell is usually linked to the salty food, such as the braised pork or the soup. But in Europe, licorice are usually made into candies or sweets. So whenever there's a strong star anise or licorice smell in the red wine, and that there's no other dominant fruity floral notes, I do run away. So now we learn the wine defects and its different categories: wine faults, wine tints, and unwanted flavors. And that's it for today. I hope you learn a little bit more about the wine defects. In the next episodes, we will dive into the different levels of aromas: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can learn wine science, wine chemistry, and many other topics related to wine with me. I don't know if anyone is interested in agro-tech because I really want to talk about the tech in wine industry. And that's all for this episode, and I will see you in the next one.